All right. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this virtual presentation from Electrical and Computer Engineering to hopefully let you guys all learn a little bit more about the two programs that we have. So my name is Zach Vandermissen. I am a PhD student here at Purdue, but I also did my undergraduate degree in electrical engineering here at Purdue.
And my name is Amelia Armstrong, and I am a senior in computer engineering.
Okay, hold on a minute. My mouse is like having issues.
Maybe we could introduce you two while we're waiting.
There you go. Sorry.
All right. So the first couple of slides we have in here is to try to help explain about what is electrical engineering, what is computer engineering, and how they relate to each other and other disciplines. So the biggest question that we usually field is, what is the difference? And the easiest way to describe the difference is computer engineering has a more focused plan of study that allows you to focus your coursework on computer systems hardware or software or both. Whereas electrical engineering has a more flexible plan of study, which allows you to focus your coursework in any one or even multiple of 7 different areas of study that fall under electrical engineering. So the next slide has a little bit more detail about the kinds of things that fall under it. So as you can see here, this table goes from kind of the bottom of the less complex systems, more fundamental concepts, up to the top, which are the most abstracted systems. And as you can see from the bracketing, electrical engineering deals roughly with the bottom section of it, whereas computer engineering deals with the top. So you might see things like circuit design or embedded microcontroller systems in the overlap between electrical and computer engineering, whereas more heavily software-oriented tasks are going to more likely be under the computer engineering umbrella, and things that are more maybe fundamentally physics-grounded, like designing new kinds of transistors or different sorts of antennas, that'll fall more under the electrical engineering umbrella. However, there is quite a bit of overlap, and you'll see multidisciplinary teams working between electrical and computer engineering. You want to take these, Amelia?
Yeah, this slide is kind of describing the differences between computer engineering and computer science. So computer science is much higher software, higher level software. So it deals a lot more with, like it's like on the slide, it says cloud computing and AI, whereas computer engineering has a lot more discipline in the lower level software, like embedded software that is closer to the hardware. So we look more at circuits and the computer architecture and embedded software and things like that, whereas you don't really get that that instruction in computer science so much.
Slide. So this next couple of slides goes over the different focus areas that I mentioned that fall under electrical engineering. And there's many courses offered in each of these focus areas because there is really a lot of breadth available in electrical and computer engineering. There's many related programs in different schools even, such as biomedical engineering, that have their roots in electrical and computer engineering. So you see here the area of automatic control. So this is anything that needs to receive commands and carry them out and have, not have input. And that can be manufacturing lines in factories, get controls engineering work, or that could be, self-driving cars, the more fundamental example that you might be familiar with. The communications, networking, signal and image processing focus area is something that is going to be under the electrical engineering umbrella, but is often heavily software focused. This is, again, perhaps the broadest subfield in electrical engineering. You could be working on cellular communications. You could be working on different sorts of algorithms that process videos or images or audio. It's really, really broad, but a lot of the things that back that up are sort of a data science approach and how you handle these different data sets. And the third one on this slide is fields and optics. And so this is sort of a pair of related areas that don't overlap as much. So optics is people that work with lasers and ultra-fast lasers, fiber optic laser communication systems. And then under the fields umbrella, we see people that work in the wireless domain, things that have to do with RF and microwave signals. So people that work with antennas or wireless communication or cell phone wireless receivers would fall under fields and optics as well. Slide. So the remaining areas are microelectronics and nanotechnology. A lot of the work that's done in these areas is focused around the Nanotechnology Center here on campus. We have some very advanced fabrication capabilities that allow lots of our graduate and professor researchers to do some really groundbreaking research developing new devices and refining different, more advanced kinds of transistors, etc. The power and energy systems area, which is named after Schweitzer, is a field that has to do with really high energy systems. So electric vehicles, big diesel electric systems, as well as things that are on power grid scale, trying to make the power grid more efficient or more smart. And then the final one listed on this slide, VLSI and circuit design. VLSI is kind of an awful acronym that stands for Very Large Systems Integration. What that means is it's when you scale up circuits to a much bigger scale, so like a processor or memory chip or graphics system or a chip that's designed to do a special kind of audio processing. It's this kind of design that falls under VLSI. And circuit design is a pretty broad umbrella that could involve, designing the power supplies that go into your cell phone chargers or into your laptop chargers, or it could involve, doing the transistor to transistor level design of maybe the amplifier that's in your home audio system. And the seventh area, which we don't have listed on this slide, is computer engineering. It's one of the facets of the electrical engineering program that if you're interested in computer engineering, but you think you have another interest in one of those other 6 areas, you can always try to build together a coursework of classes through the electrical engineering program while taking some computer engineering coursework and some other things that you're interested in.
So then this slide has some of the computer engineering coursework that's like really important to computer engineering. So the microprocessor systems and interfacing, where you will learn how to program the microprocessors, and that class culminates in a group project that goes for about 4 weeks, where you basically design a project from beginning to end with a microcontroller, and that class is a lot of fun. And then the software engineering tools laboratory that teaches some scripting languages like Bash, and teaches you how to design and test the different kinds of software, as well as, is that the right number for, I don't think that's the right number.
No, that number's incorrect. I tried to get that fixed before this. This, I believe, is trying to talk about 437, I think, is the number for this course.
Yeah. What is
it? It should be computer design and architecture,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes, it is changing to 437.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So the computer design and architecture class is basically learning about it. That class is basically building a computer from start to finish. I haven't taken that personally, but it's again basically a lot of computer architecture, and it's a class that very few other schools have. So
yeah, I've been keeping an eye on chat. I may want to hop in and answer a couple of these questions before we divert into a slightly different area in the next couple of slides.
Yeah,
so the first one from Jonah: is it important prior knowledge when going into computer engineering classes? No, I would say the curriculum builds upon itself. If you've taken the right classes in first-year engineering to progress into your professional school, into electrical and computer engineering, you'll be ready to start taking those classes. The curriculum doesn't assume you have anything that you haven't been taught.
Yeah,
And,
I definitely agree with that. personally did have some coding experience going in, but I have plenty of friends who didn't have any coding experience coming into computer engineering, and they are doing really well.
All right. And I guess maybe I'll just save time to wrap up the rest of the ones in maybe the end question session. So I guess we can go to the next slide. So this is a very new development in electrical and computer engineering. I believe that perhaps an advisor can chime in. This is the first course year that has the opportunity to go into this program, the 4+1 degree. I'm getting nods, yes. So the program is essentially to get through a coursework-based master's degree in a faster time than you could by just doing the coursework-based master's degree after an undergraduate program. There is a great synergy between the savings of credits, aka classes that you end up having to take because you are credited some of that you've done in your undergraduate 4th year. And if this is something that seems like you want for your career, this is a really excellent program to consider. There's lots of fields throughout electrical and computer engineering where some jobs just have a reliance on a little bit more coursework than you might be able to get at the bachelor's degree level. And so if you find yourself becoming interested in one of these fields where a master's degree would really be more competitive in the job market, then this is an excellent program for you to look into. And of course, that's not to say that you can't do work with bachelor's degrees. There's far more jobs with bachelor's degrees, but there are some areas where a master's degree is very competitive to have.
Zach, do you want to answer the non-thesis master's degree question?
Sure. So, oh, I'm sorry, yes, non-thesis. So at Purdue, there's 2 kinds of master's program in electrical and computer engineering. One, you take, it's kind of like another undergraduate degree a little bit. You do a certain set of courses from the list of available courses from these graduate level course offerings, and if you complete the required curriculum, then you are given a non-thesis master's degree. The thesis option master's is a little bit like a mini PhD, although that's not quite accurate. You are going to do some research working in a professor's lab as a component of that degree, and that'll culminate in you giving a master's thesis defense presenting some of the research work that you've done during that program. That's an option that is interesting if you think that career researching is in your future.
A couple other questions with this.
Can I add real quick? The 4+1 is for a non-thesis. Make sure that it's right there, his #1 bullet. But the 4+1 to get out in 1 extra year with your master's is the non-thesis.
Okay. Nope, you're good. There was a question about, I just kind of wanted to hit this because we don't talk about this anywhere else. Would there be a disadvantage compared to a traditional master's degree? No.
No.
I mean,
No.
this is still a master's in ECE, just like anything else. That's not going to be any different. Once you have a master's, it's a master's.
Yes.
Let's see. There was another one in here. Terms of thesis, which is more competitive. I think Zach kind of covered that. The difference.
One about getting ready for the PhD. Zach, you're doing your PhD, correct?
Yeah, I'm working on my PhD. So a PhD program very specifically prepares you to work on research. One kind of career path for that is going into academic research and trying to become a professor at a university. There's another career path which is going into research in industry, whether that be at a private company or in a government research lab or in kind of the private-public partnership sector. But those are the careers that a PhD will prepare you for in electrical and computer engineering. If those aren't the kinds of jobs you're looking for, then a PhD is not the degree for you. There are degrees that need advanced training, like I was mentioning, that a non-thesis option master's will completely prepare you for. So if you just want to get a little bit more education and become prepared for some of those more technical, challenging fields, a non-thesis master's is an excellent choice for you, because the thesis masters to some extent, and especially the PhD, really are preparing you for one of those research careers.
The question from Kayla says, if I want to get a PhD, will the 4+1 degree set me up?
If you
it's
want a
kind of
PhD, don't get a master's
Yeah.
degree.
Right.
Yeah, if you know you want the PhD,
Do the
do
direct.
pass go. Do not collect master's degree. Go directed to the direct PhD program. It will save you even more years.
Yep.
So in that case, the 4+1 is not a good option.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's, oh, if you will be able to get your bachelor's degree in 3 years, would the 4+1 degree become a 3+1 degree? No, it is 4 years in undergrad, and then you finish off that last year, that 5th year would be you finishing off. So it's 30, right, Angela, 30 graduate hours?
Total, yes.
Yeah, total, so,
Completing 12 as an undergrad.
yep.
In my semi-anecdotal experience, if you're in a position to complete your bachelor's degree in 3 years, it is possible you would be in a position to have enough excess graduate credit which you're able to transfer some forward even outside of this program that you could hypothetically still complete a non-thesis master's within a 1 year or perhaps a year plus a summer timeline. But if that's something that you're looking into, if you're on that 3-year horizon for your bachelor's degree, today is when you should start planning your schedules to see where you can fit those those graduate levels courses in, because you are allowed to transfer out excess credit from your undergraduate degree towards a graduate degree at Purdue, even if you're not in this program specifically.
But they don't double count.
Yes.
So that's tricky. And in my 11 years, I've never had anyone graduate in 3 years.
That is... Sutton did, Angela.
It's impossible.
It has happened.
Well, I have not seen it. So it is
Yes.
not impossible, but it is quite a feat to do that. So
All right, does the 4+1 require the GRE?
No.
No, it does not. Okay, I think that's, do you have an example course of study? We can talk about that in the end. Okay, let's move on.
All right, so you, in the courses that you've taken so far, may have not had the chance to get around to all the different courses of parts of campus yet, especially with class sessions being as they are this semester. So where is the ECE program located at Purdue? So we have 4 buildings, but 2 primary buildings. So these are our 2 primary buildings. The Material Science and Electrical Engineering building, MSCE, which is by a strong majority just full with electrical and computer engineering. There are a few other programs here and there, but it's mostly us. This is the center where our advising offices are, where our head's office is, where our Starbucks is. So this is sort of the hub for campus. And there's another room in this building that's on the next slide. That's really an excellent study space. The other building you see here, oh, can we come back? The electrical engineering building is, again, almost completely dedicated to electrical computer engineering. It is where the vast majority of our laboratory courses are held, and so we'll see that on the next slide as well. I think you'd be better for this, Amelia, because I've not used these spaces.
Yes, so the Bill and Shirley Rice Design Studio is in MSEE, and it is a new space. It was just built, I believe, was it just last year? I think it was just last year. And it's wonderful. It's a great study space. I've used that plenty. It's a really nice space to study. And it's, again, in MSEE. And then the other picture is one of the ECE labs. I think that's the 362 lab. So that's the microprocessor class. So the labs are primarily in the basement of the electrical engineering building. Most of them look similar to this, the workstations and everything.
Unfortunately, the space is closed right now. That was one of the questions. Is that space open right now or closed due to COVID? It is closed right now due to COVID, unfortunately.
so sad.
Very sadly.
So these are our other two buildings. I mentioned earlier the Nanotechnology Center on campus, Burke, which is down in the Discovery Park area to the southwest, and then Wang Hall, which is just across Northwestern Avenue from our two main buildings. Wang Hall primarily hosts graduate research labs as well as classrooms that are often used for graduate level courses, although there are some professors' offices here, so you may have office hours in this building. Brick Nanotechnology Center has almost no classes held in it. It's almost entirely a research space. So if you get involved in research as an undergraduate student, you may find yourself spending time in some of these buildings. But beyond that, perhaps office hours with professors might be the most likely place. So as you can see from just the raw numbers on this slide, ECE is a big place. So these are our most up-to-date numbers, well over 100 faculty members, and you can see that we're beginning to grow towards 2,000 undergrads at this point, as well as having a very large quantity of graduate students. It's a highly ranked program. Both EE and CompE are top 10, and you get some unique resources in such a large school because I think one of the biggest benefits is there are professors working on almost everything. And so we have really high quality faculty in virtually every area of electrical and computer engineering that you could learn from or work with.
So this slide talks a little bit about that are available to ECE students. So after your freshman year, once you're in ECE, you are eligible to apply for the ECE scholarships, and they are merit-based. So there's the application that send out that you fill out talking about like your involvement in clubs and organizations and things, your GPA, leadership experience, and they'll use that to determine whether to give you scholarships.
So an opportunity that you often have through different departments in Purdue is study abroad, and ECE is one of the many that have these opportunities. Something that's really cool about our program is we offer credits that can be used towards your ECE degree through one of our study abroad options. We have the Maymester Abroad with ECE, which is Intro to Machine Learning. That's just the single course that you take over the Maymester, and the location for this has been several different places in the past few years. It moves each year to a new location. And then there's a bunch of different partner programs that you can get into. There's university in Spain that you can take courses in. I know that people have gone to universities in Central America as well. There are ways, if you work with our advising office as well as the International Studies Office, to get the credits that you take abroad to not only count like just a gen ed or something, but count to practical courses that are part of your core ECE curriculum. And so it's very much possible, even if you're doing a full semester abroad, to plan it so that it doesn't take any extra time for you to complete your degree. You can strategically put 1 or 2 classes in there that will help you progress along your degree while you're having your study abroad opportunity.
Can we stop here for just a moment? I don't know if this will happen. This past summer, we had planned to teach Fundamentals 1 and Fundamentals 2 during a study abroad experience over the summer, but due to COVID, those got canceled and things did not go the way we want. It may very well be planned to happen next summer as well. So that's something to somewhat keep an eye on. We'll let you know if that comes available. Our hope is that things get kind of back to normal and that we can offer that, but just something to kind of keep in the back of your head a little bit. Thank you.
You want to talk about these, Amelia?
Sure. This slide talks about the ECE student organizations, which we have plenty. The ECE Student Society is like kind of the main one, and that houses several other organizations, including ambassadors. So that's us. Women in ECE, which I'm actually also I'm one of the co-chairs of Women in ECE, as well as there's the Multicultural Committee and Spark Challenge, and there's multiple other subcommittees within the ECE Student Society. Then we have HKN, which is the ECE Honor Society. So that is, candidates for that are selected based on GPA, and I don't know if there's other factors, but it's basically the top however many students for each year are selected to be in HKN. We also have an IEEE chapter. It escapes my mind what IEEE stands for.
IEEE is actually a deprecated acronym. They've decided that it stands for IEEE.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, that's the professional societies. So they have, I think they do a bunch of like corporate things and things like that, and they have projects and competitions. So they're also a great resource for if you like need ideas for projects and things like that.
So I mentioned this briefly earlier when I said participating in research as an undergraduate student. There are a lot of opportunities in ECE to engage in undergraduate research. So across not even just engineering, but multidisciplinarily, there is the Engineering Projects and Community Service Program, EPICS, which many of you may already be familiar with or even participating in. And there are many EPICS teams that are often in need of good electrical and computer engineers. It's sometimes an underserved need in that program, and it is an excellent opportunity to get hands-on working on a project for a real client, and so you'd have to deliver something. There are project management meetings and needs involved. It's a really interesting experience that's excellent job preparation. And then the more research-oriented ones, whereas EPICS is a little bit more of a project than it is a research experience. There's what's called vertically integrated projects, better known as VIP. So this is a program that has actually begun to launch college-wide in engineering, but originated in ECE. And this is a way to get a first research experience in academic research with a professor. So professors will bring to the VIP program projects that they'd like to have undergraduate students work on, and students simply sign up for a class, which is VIP, and they essentially have a big pitch competition where all of the different projects get explained and students rank their preferences, and then they have a big sorting algorithm that puts all the students on teams, and you are guaranteed to be assigned onto a research project if you register for VIP. And so you'll work on a multidisciplinary team, typically with one or more undergraduate students besides yourself, and often a graduate student or more in addition to the professor who's in charge of the project. And this is a great way to get your feet wet with research. If you think you might like it, but you're not sure, try research. And this is the easiest way to get into it here at Purdue. Beyond that, there are big campus-wide programs called SURF and DURI, the Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship, and the Discovery Park Research Initiative. And those are, one is during the summer, one can be year-round. It's kind of another big setup program, although those are lucrative because they sometimes come with paid stipends, but can be a little bit more competitive as well. And there's always the choice to work directly with a professor. If you just approach a professor and say, I'm really interested in the projects that you work on in your research, could you let me start working in your research lab? The vast majority of ECE professors at Purdue will allow you to start. And they'll probably give you a trial project for the first semester or two to see how you adjust to research in their lab. But after you get through some sort of an introductory period, you can begin working on the same projects that their graduate students are. That's an experience that I myself had, which helped convince me to come and go along and stay here to do my graduate degree.
I can talk about this one. So senior design, every ECE student, every ECE undergraduate student is required to take senior design. We have 4 different options for senior design. So there's the electrical engineering senior design, which is the number is 49022. And that one is, I don't know the exact requirements, but that's, well, I know the, like, okay, so let me come back to that. But so there's the electrical engineering senior design, and there's digital systems senior design, which the main difference between the two is that for digital systems senior design, you have to have a team and a project planned out before the semester starts. And I believe there's also additional requirements for the project. I'm not sure if the electrical engineering one requires microcontrollers, but the digital system one does.
Yeah, I could pop in really quickly.
The other option,
yeah, so the electrical engineering program doesn't require a microcontroller, but does permit them, whereas the digital design does require a microcontroller. Also, there is an additional prereq. There's an additional prereq for digital systems design. You have to have taken the microcontrollers class to be eligible for that one, but beyond that, that's how.
Yeah, I've just been always been planning on 477, so don't know quite as much about the requirements of the electrical one, but yeah. So those are the main two, and that's what I think most ECE students do, one of those two. But you can also do 2 semesters of EPICS, where you would be working like in a leadership role on an EPICS project for 2 semesters. And you can also do a vertically integrated projects class that would also be 2 semesters, similar kind of thing. You would be in a leadership role for that. So any of those 4 options will fulfill the senior design requirement. There's just different like prerequisites, different things that it'll basically just depend on what you want to do with your senior design project and what you want to get out of that, really.
The naming is a little counterintuitive. Electrical and computer engineers are eligible for any 4 options. Computer engineers can take electrical engineers can take digital systems. It's just a little bit confusing names.
There is a 5th option in the works. It will be offered for the first time in the spring that is purely a software project. We've been trying to develop this over some time, and the first run should be in the spring to see how that goes. So that 5th option will be on board by the time you all get to that point.
All right. You want to talk about these?
I don't really know that much about these.
Sure. So the next couple of slides have some examples from a mixture of the research opportunities in the project classes and the senior design classes as well. I believe all of these here are different VIP projects. So CAM Squared is a big data project that works on video processing for a lot of different things using very large camera networks. Access created a coding learning homework system that's actually used in a class here at Purdue. System-on-Chip Extension Technologies is a sometimes hotly competitive to get on team that has a very amazing project. They get to design a microcontroller, and it is periodically fabricated through partnership. And so the opportunity to actually work on a team that designs a real microcontroller that gets fabricated is very uncommon to have at any university level, but especially at the undergraduate level. So that's very interesting. We can do the next slide. And these are examples from the microcontrollers projects class as well as senior design classes. So the lights show on the bottom as well as the articulated human-shaped robot and the audio synthesizer are from the microcontrollers projects class, whereas the laser engraver was a really interesting senior design project. The student disassembled a Blu-ray player and removed the high-power Blu-ray read head laser and used that to create a CNC-controlled laser engraver robot. So this slide might look a little overwhelming at first, seeing as how many dozens of companies are up here, but the answer to the question at the top is ECE grads work everywhere. Every single logo that's up here has had an ECE grad from Purdue go and work at this company. And I might personally know, in fact, someone who has gone and worked for almost every one of these companies. Electrical and computer engineering both are very hot hiring fields, and almost any company that's large enough will have a role for an electrical or a computer engineer somewhere in it, whether that be in their manufacturing and production, or if they're just a high-tech software company, you know, that's quite obvious what you'd be doing. So
we have multiple opportunities to get to like see opportunities for internships and co-ops. So ECE has their own exclusive career fair every year, usually just before IR, that's Boilermaker Circuit. And this is usually held in the co-rec. And it has companies coming to hire just ECE grads or ECE students for internships and for jobs, as well as, of course, Industrial Roundtable, IR. That's hundreds of companies. Many of them hire for ECE students as well. And of course, there's any company companies always want to hire ECE grads. Like, they're very in demand.
And another top question we get at these presentations is, will I make a lot of money if I go into ECE? And as you can see on this chart, as far as engineering goes, yes. Our average starting salaries are very competitive. 2 out of the top 3 are ECE. And this is just a list of some of our more notable alumni. We always like to call out our Purdue ECE astronauts, as well as Rita Lane, former VPO at Apple. She has a lot of interaction with the department. She comes back. I've had the opportunity to meet with her a couple of times. She's another excellent alumni from our program. And Michael Burke, namesake of Burke Nanotechnology Center, Burke Boilermaker Complex, and I'm sure several other things around Purdue named Burke, is another extremely successful ECE alumni of ours. So this slide, I guess, is a thesis of what our pitch is for ECE. If you're still undecided and you want to answer the question, is ECE a good fit? Think about these pretty big ideas. Are electronics or technology or innovation or automation things that are interesting to you? Do those concepts excite you? If so, ECE might be a good fit for you. Which is not to say that you should be jazzed about all 4 of these things, otherwise don't go to ECE. That's not the case. But these are some of the large driving thrusts that push forward a lot of the ideas and the jobs and the careers in electrical and computer engineering. So I believe this is our final slide, so we might be able to go to... Yep,
So
okay, cool.
I have it scrolled up to the questions, so I can ask them if you'd like to answer, Zach.
Sure.
And then Giselle and I will fill in the blanks if needed, but probably not. So first one, and this goes way back. So would FPGA design fall into electrical or computer engineering?
Computer, mostly.
What concentration would be most appropriate for me if I want to specialize in batteries?
Electrical all the way, probably power and energy systems.
All right. I can answer this one. If you aren't an ECE major, but you still want to take some of these classes, is that a thing you can do? Yes, space permitting, which generally we try to accommodate. I would recommend that you consider an ECE minor if you want to ensure you get into classes. Once you meet the minimum requirements for a minor, we don't make you stop. You can keep taking more ECE classes, but we do try to accommodate anyone who wants our classes, whether you're an ECE or not. As we grow, it gets tougher, but so far we're still doing okay. If you choose the software route, is it more similar to CS or EE?
I think maybe a way to answer this question is to explain the approaches that computer science and computer engineering take. So the engineering side comes from a sort of trying to solve a problem by making or designing or coding something. And it's sort of finding solutions to things is kind of the approach. Whereas computer science fundamentally comes from the College of Science, the sort of learning and information and discovery and exploration angle is certainly a way that they will approach a lot of problems. So you may find people studying, for example, operating systems in both computer engineering and computer science, but they're going to be taking very different approaches to what they want to see in new operating systems, or why they're even interested in operating systems. So it will perhaps be more like CS, just because you'll be doing a large quantity of programming if you're focusing on software and computer engineering, but the approach is far more EE.
Thank you. Do you have to learn some mechanical engineering in order to make electrical components for robots?
No, I guess not strictly. There are people that do robotics in both mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. There's a specialty in mechanical engineering called mechatronics, which kind of means I do robotics and electrical engineering, but I'm in mechanical engineering. Those teams are always going to have mechanical engineers and electrical engineers in industry. So both ways into robotics are perfectly valid. Perhaps it becomes a little bit of what part of that system is more interesting to you, the mechanics or the electronics. One asterisk I will put on is, to the best of my knowledge, mechanical engineering is still struggling with course capacity issues in a way that electrical engineering is not. If robotics is something that's very interesting to you, and like the idea of maybe I'll do electrical engineering with a mechanical engineering minor was something that you thought of coming into Purdue, that's not currently an option that's possible because of course capacity problems in mechanical engineering. So I will encourage you to think about looking at the reverse, perhaps mechanical engineering with an electrical engineering minor, if that feels more appealing to you. It's something to keep in mind when you think about robotics.
Is it worth doing a computer science minor?
Do you have feelings on that,
Can we
Amelia?
answer this one?
If you are not, I don't think you're allowed to do that if you're in computer engineering. You are allowed, I think you are allowed to if you're in electrical engineering, but if you want to do software, I would definitely suggest just going into computer engineering anyway, because you definitely get, you do get a good amount of software knowledge going through computer engineering, and of course you can choose your electives in computer engineering to be more software oriented.
Yeah.
Computer engineers are allowed to take CS courses if you've got holes in your plan and you need a filler. We count those as complementary electives. So you're not shut out of CS courses, you just are not allowed to obtain the minor. There's just too much overlap. So things to keep in mind for minors is you should do a minor in an area because you're interested in it. It means something to you and it's something that you want to gain more knowledge. If you think it's going to make you more employable or that you will get better jobs, that is not the case. So minors should be a personal interest to you. It's not a bad thing. It just will not take a company who looks at you and thinks, oh, you have a CS minor. That's not going to move you ahead of anyone else.
That's very, very accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does the ECE school allow for double majoring in other STEM subjects? I was informed that one cannot have a double major, double degree in CS and EE. That is not true. You may not double in computer engineering and computer science. You may double in electrical engineering and computer science, and you can really dual major in electrical and computer engineering, pretty much anything. It's just fitting them in. So
yeah, I've known a lot of EE ME doubles. I've known some EE physics doubles as well.
Physics, math, yeah, those are usually the most common ones, but you can dual in electrical engineering and French. I mean, you can, we don't care. STEM, non-STEM is the only one is computer engineering and CS. That's the only one. You cannot. All right. What does non-thesis master's degree mean?
So we definitely did treat this one at length earlier, but I saw a follow-up from someone who we sort of answered their question but didn't finish, which specifically targeted, if I want a PhD, why shouldn't I do the 4+1, which was the advice that we mentioned? And that is because if there's availability for a direct PhD program, you'll save more time overall doing undergrad direct PhD than 4+1 PhD. It's an overall time savings, and a direct PhD program calls for a lot of coursework typically, and so you won't lose any education, you'll just save time.
How often do electrical and mechanical engineers work together, and how similar are electrical and mechanical engineering?
Often.
Better than mechanical, right?
I mean, they really do work together on a lot of different things. Really, anything that has complex moving parts in it needs a mechanical engineer on the team, and if the parts need to move, they probably need an electrical engineer on the team as well. So they're disciplines that work together a lot in things like manufacturing and robotics. There's a B half to that question that popped out of my head. Oh, are they similar? I wouldn't say they're terribly similar. Aside from the robotics overlap area, there are a lot of things that you study in electrical engineering that you would not study in mechanical, and vice versa.
This one was answered a little bit in the presentation. Would computer architecture fall under ECE or EE? Bit of a clarification. So ECE is the department that's electrical and computer engineering. Double E is the electrical side. Comp E is the computer engineering side. So just make sure that you're keeping those two separate. But computer architecture is under the computer engineering area. Mostly VLSI, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, some of these they're asking questions pertaining to things as they were going, so they may not be relevant, but I don't want to skip anything important. Someone want to know if the 4+1 is a disadvantage compared to a traditional master's. I think we covered that. The answer is no, it's the same.
Yep.
Is it more competitive to have a master's thesis versus non-thesis?
They do different things. A thesis master's has less coursework and has some research training, so that would prepare you differently than the strictly coursework where you're going to learn more different types of information. So they prepare you in different ways for different jobs.
Thank you. What first-year engineering GPA is typically required for ECE? The admissions requirement is that you meet the minimum requirements out of first year, and you have a 2.0 overall GPA in that EAI. We keep growing, but we've not really met our maximum capacity, so there's no need to raise that. I will say that if you are coming out of first year engineering with a GPA that is at that 2.0 to 2. Even 2.6, 2.7, it might be a little high. You need to ask yourself very seriously, what's it going to take to really be successful in the program? It's not by far, I wouldn't say it's the hardest, but it is a difficult program. Computer engineering is extremely disciplined and time consuming. So those are things you need to ask if you're on that lower end, but a 2.0 or higher will get you into ECE. Do we learn communication systems?
You can take courses in it. Communication systems fall mostly under electrical engineering. For example, classes like ECE 440, digital communication, or perhaps communication of information. In any case, there are 300 to 400 level classes that touch on communication theory and communication systems ideas. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm seeing where people ask a question and someone answers it, so I'm just is the 4+1 only for ECE? I'm not sure what that.
There is an ME 4+1, but aside from us and ME, I, off the top of my head, do not know of any others in engineering.
Right. And if you're trying to distinguish between double E and comp E, it's for both. So again, I'm not sure what the ECE meant, but where's the money at? Big or small electronics?
What's like the most profit dense center? I mean, anything that you can go work in the San Francisco Bay Area, any company that'll hire you there, you'll have the highest dollar number salary, although your effective earnings might be kind of bad. because it costs like twice as much to live there. I mean, yeah, I have a hard time, saying, this is a poor earning field, this is a high earning field. Very broad strokes. Industry will pay better than academia, but beyond that.
Hi, that's Barbara. I'm
industries you're
sorry
gonna
for interrupting. But is that okay if I pull up the QR code now for the attendance, and then those students who want to ask more questions, they can stay after that?
That's fine with me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess as that comes up, we could probably still go plowing through the questions.
Are you automatically considered for HKN? So what
Yes.
they do, I'd say they ask us for a list of students who meet the GPA requirements, and then they send out an invitation, I believe.
Yes. So there's a certain number of ECE credit hours you have to have completed to, I guess, be kind of considered as part of our program. And then based on your years at Purdue standing, there's a different percentage threshold that you have to meet. So if you are in your second year, that's top 20% of your class. If you're in your third year, that's top 25% of your class. If you're in your fourth year or higher, that's the top 33% of your class. And if you're a graduate student, you're automatically considered for membership.
I would never have known those numbers. Thanks.
Happy to help. I am an HKN member, full disclosure.
I was gonna say, I thought you were. Thank you for that. Sorry, I lost my spot. I was looking for something that I'm going to come back to the 4+1. So if you have questions about it, you might want to hang on. Are there organizations only open to students already accepted to ECE, or can we join them this year? Most of our organizations, I'm not aware of any of them that take non-ECE students.
No, IEEE will take anyone.
IEEE? Okay. That's the only one, because I'm not familiar enough with it. But Student Society, ambassadors, all HKN, you have to be in the school itself. Okay. Is there a possibility to work on research as an undergraduate with other colleges? The answer to that is yes, but you want to be careful because of the only credits of research that you would do to count towards ECE credits, whether it's EE or CompE, are with ECE faculty. If you do research with a faculty member in a different college, then those are just complementary electives. So if, depending on how you want that research to count, then that's where you make that decision on who you do it with. Okay. Eligibility to apply for VIP, I believe they have a section for all levels, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
As soon as the spring.
Yep. VIP is a learning community you can join a year. Yep. Can you test out of the microcontrollers class?
No. And although there are many people that have had very thorough electronics educations, even in high school at this point, it is extremely uncommon for someone to meet the kinds of skills that you need to pass this class from a high school educational standpoint.
And plus with the project aspect, I really don't see how you could, because the project aspect is such a big part of it, and it's really a great takeaway from the class.
Yeah, maybe to give you some framework, if your microcontrollers experience is in the Arduino system, then this is an entirely different level of work. If was in something more involved, it is still likely a higher level of work than was previous. But if Arduino is what you're talking about, then this is beyond that.
Amelia, you're right. The project is so heavily weighted in that class, and the experience that you get from it carries over into
like it came out. Yeah, and the internship that I got for this summer, like I talked a lot in my interview for that about my project, and I'm sure it'll come up plenty in interviews that I have this year for full-time jobs. Like it's a very, especially people like Purdue grads who have Purdue ECE grads who have taken the classes, they know that it's a very important class, and it's very helpful for working in the industry.
Okay. One says, I'd like to go into ECE, but I'm also interested in software engineering internships. I know that data structures and algorithms are critical classes for many companies. Is there a software algorithms equivalent course within ECE?
There is the data structures class, yes,
I will-
that you learn a
yeah.
lot about.
I'll give two flavors of answer. Like I've personally had a software engineering internship, but there are some companies that have a opinion which is not based in fact and is like just genuinely discriminatory, that if you aren't in a CS program, they don't want you for software internships with them. Like Facebook is notorious for this. There are companies that turn their nose up at computer engineers because they're dumb and leave talent on the table. So that's a real thing, but you can't fix stupid.
All right. I can't tell you, and these numbers won't mean much to you, so don't worry about the course numbers I'm going to throw at you, but grasp more on the content of it. We have a class, ECE 364. It used to be a required core course for compies. That course has been replaced with Python for data science. They took 364, worked on it over the summer, and they have kind of revamped it, and they're heading towards a 3-credit course, which is software engineering. So we used to have a course that didn't run for a long time. It's now, it's called the Survey of Software Engineering. Their hope is to develop that further into a full 3-credit hour course. We know the desire and the need is there for that, so we're headed towards trying to get more coursework in that. So again, by the time you get there, it should be there. This one I'm scared to answer or to think about. Is there quite a bit of math involved in electrical engineering?
Yes. The short answer is yes. A lot of our core classes, the homework in it is, it kind of feels like just story problem after story problem. There is, you know, a day-to-day allocation of math in the undergraduate program. But there's a little bit less in computer engineering, and there's all sorts of jobs you can get in both fields that you don't use math ever again in. So I wouldn't let that be a stopper.
Is it possible to dual major in electrical engineering and computer engineering? Yes, I have seen that maybe 3 times, maybe 4, I think 3, since I've been in this school. It's not just a matter of if you take a course and it fits both degrees, then you check it off. If you're going to walk away with 2 bachelors, you're going to do the work of 2 bachelors. So the degree requirements and the numbers are such that you can count on being here about 6 years. So instead, it is much more beneficial to you to pick one, electrical or computer. If you're interested in both, you can then stay for your master's. You're putting in the same number of years, the same amount of money, you're walking away with a higher degree. And 2 bachelors does not equal a master's. So every now and then we have a couple students who try it. We always have a few that start out that way, but it's rare that they finish it out. They'd rather see that master's come out of those extra 2 years. But that is doable if you're interested.
I think I see a question we accidentally hopped over
Okay.
to get to that one. I'm really interested in software. Would computer engineering or CS be a better fit? Should I code it to CS? You can do software in computer engineering. It is entirely possible that you won't successfully code it to CS because of how competitive, to the point of being arbitrary, that process is some semesters. Even if you have a 4.0, that isn't a guaranteed ticket into CS. So coding to CS might be impractical, and you can still do software in Compy.
There will always be that small element of hardware, though. You can't avoid it.
Yes.
If you are completely against hardware and you want nothing to do with it, then CS is your home.
But
That's one.
you can absolutely get very good software knowledge in computer engineering. Like I'm personally kind of making my track to like embedded software. So I'm taking a lot of software classes, and you get a very good software engineering basis through computer engineering with picking your electives to be software heavy.
Thank you. All right, does circuit design for computer systems fall under computer engineering or electrical engineering? Circuit design for computer systems. That's where the hardware comes in.
Mixed bag. The processor, that's compy. Like the motherboard, that'd be electrical design, electrical circuit more. It's a big enough system that you'll have people from both sides involved.
Yeah.
I'm skipping over a few of these because we covered them earlier. What would examples of jobs or fields be using lasers and optics concentration? So in the FO area.
Yeah, so I will say that lasers and optics is a little bit more of one of the more niche specializations in terms of the size of the career market there. But fiber optic communications, which is how everything from sort of neighborhood level internet and bigger is run, is all done using communications lasers. And the companies that make all these products need optical engineers to design those. I would hazard a guess that fiber optic communications is probably the single largest employer of people that do fields and optics. The more complicated or advanced applications, a lot of it's even still research or very small companies that are oriented towards supplying research and test and measurement. But yeah, fiber optics is probably the biggest employer out there, I would say.
This one's a bit tricky. In your opinion, between compy and electrical, which industry is growing more? That's not a real clear answer. Computer and tech jobs and all of that, they're always growing because that's just the direction that seems everyone is headed in. But electrical engineers are needed. As Zach said, they're needed everywhere. And we're seeing droppings in the numbers of electrical engineers, which means more and more companies are falling short on what they need. So higher demand. So being that they're very different, I don't think you could really make a good comparison between the growth. Zach, your opinion, you see it, but I don't.
Yeah,
I
don't know. I wouldn't say. I guess like you get the headlines for computer engineering is like big explosive, big tech growth, but I totally agree with Angela that there's a huge demand for electrical engineers in the market right now. So
Yes.
I'd say it's hard to pick a winner. I mean, the winner is whoever has an ECE degree.
So true. Yeah, every semester, especially in May, I get email after email from companies that are short and they are still looking for electrical engineers for full-time employment, even into that May and June. So it's an area that if you do well, you're not going to be suffering looking for a job. You're probably going to have a tougher time trying to figure out which one to take. We talked about minors. A CS minor is not allowed for computer engineering students. We talked about dual degree, so that one's kind of repetitive. With an end goal of making medical devices, is computer engineering a good path to take?
I would say definitely yes. Like embedded systems, embedded software would definitely be a good path for that. Like I know a lot of the classes that I've taken relating to the embedded systems, they always mention that this is good for medical devices and things like that. So
Definitely.
How feasible would it be to learn about both doubly and compy? So one thing that's really flexible about the electrical engineering program is you can meet your requirements pulling from most of the comping courses. So you can get a very good mixed bag of experiences, whether it's in the electrical side, you know, if you want to do like the power energy systems, or if you want to go more into computer engineering side, you can walk out 50-50 even. So the computer engineering degree doesn't offer you that much flexibility, but you can still cross a bit into electrical. But if you're still struggling, I would suggest that you know, look into electrical engineering and just pull as many of those comping courses into that program that you want. Another dual major, how busy is life in ECE? How busy is life as an ECE major? I heard it destroys your social life. What social life, right?
I mean, really, no, though. I did marching band and electrical engineering all 4 years, and if I could maintain both of those at the same time, you can have a time for a social life, I promise you.
Yeah. It's not what destroyed my social life. What destroyed my social life was deciding to do a theater design and production minor, because that's every single night rehearsals. So yeah, ECE is perfectly, like this semester I'm not doing a show, so my social life but yeah, ECE does not really destroy your social life. It just depends on what else you do.
Quick shout out to the double major question. 5 years, MEEE, you're going to hit 5 years, like guarantee it. That's the only thing that's hard is time.
Yeah, because you're trying to fit in all the requirements of both.
Yeah,
that's not easy. I think the key to what the question about having a social life, someone said that's just engineering, and that's true. Engineering is just not an easy major, but if you organize and plan your time well and stay ahead of things, you'll have plenty of time for outside activities, as long as COVID goes away. Intense are they? I heard ECE is significantly more intense than other engineering majors. Can be. For some it's not. So I think it's a personal experience for you, but I think staying on top of things and staying organized is the name of the game, so you don't fall behind. Would I be able to get into the gaming industry with a comping major alone, or would I double major with game design? Be advised. If true, is the dual major possible?
So an interesting consideration, I would say, is if you're taking a full double major, which adds a year to your degree, and you're attending school on debt, the gaming industry is not a financially lucrative industry. So bear in mind that you're going into an industry where most people are accepting prorated pay because they love the job. And so if you're spending an extra year of tuition on debt to do that, think about how that comes out in the end.
ECE majors are primarily focused in California, or where do they go geographically? They are everywhere.
Absolutely everywhere.
Everywhere. Sorry, I'm laughing at some of the comments. They're just cute. Thank you, James. Thank you for answering the question about where's the money. Okay, and this is a good note. Potential answer to the question about where's the money. My dad is an EE, and he seems to know a lot about it. He always tells me that working in embedded systems is very well paying within the field of ECE. And I think, Amelia, you said something about embedded systems as well. Thank you.
Yep, that's what I'm hoping to go into, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely, and the great thing about that is, another great thing about embedded systems is you can really work just about anywhere. Like, there's so many things that use embedded systems. It's just such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Diverse, I guess, or like, yeah.
Broad.
So there's a lot of variety, yeah.
Yeah. I would also say embedded systems is like kind of the exact intersection point of Comp E and EE. It's really right between the two.
Yeah, that's what I've always felt like. Embedded systems is just like the definition of computer engineering, basically.
Okay. So there's a
Kind of
lot
been-
of notes in here with it, and also trying to get information for the QR code. So
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to do. I know there's a lot on here. If you still are hanging on and you have a question and we have not answered it, or you need more elaboration, go ahead and type it in, because a lot of these are kind of sunk in between. She asked for email and things, and I'm afraid they'll be lost.
Yeah.
A lot of questions about the 4+1. So here's one thing. If you think you're interested in it, you need to apply at the end of your first semester sophomore year. Does that mean you have to follow through? It does not. Does that mean you have to know exactly what area of ECE you want to go into? It does not, because you're not going to be taking those graduate level courses until your late junior maybe or senior year. So you have plenty of time to narrow down that aspect. We just want you to know that if you think this is something you're interested in, you need to apply for it at that certain time. You can always come in and say, I've changed my mind. Can we just drop that? Because there's no cohort, there's no anything we have to do. It's just paperwork and knowing that you're in the plan. So if you think you're going to do it and you're interested and you meet the GPA requirements, go ahead and apply. Okay? All those last minute decisions can be made down the road. In the Comp and EE degree, in your late junior or senior year, you're required to meet certain course requirements. For example, EE, there are 3 selectives you need to take out of a group. Was it at 9 now? A couple of those are graduate level courses. So you take it, it checks the box and goes towards your bachelor's, but then we use those 3 credits toward the 4+1. So as you get into it as a junior, that's when we really start narrowing down what courses you're going to use for it. So, and again, this has only been up and running this semester. I'm sure there might be some changes we make along the way, but that's the gist of it. And you'll hear all about it in the sophomore seminar in that first semester, sophomore year. Okay.
Let's see. So I think I found the beginning of the questions again.
Sure.
So question about CS 251. If you can get into the class, you could certainly sit and take it, but it won't replace the comparable class in your ComP curriculum, so you might just be taking 2 very similar classes.
Not advising you that.
Let's see. If you're still on the fence about Comp E versus EE versus Mech E, I mean, if you're really sitting the fence, then choose EE because it's kind of between all 3, I guess.
I'm all for that.
Yeah. Set to transition at the end of the summer. Do I need to worry about course capacity? EE has not yet hit course capacity in any of our major courses.
Our theory is if you want in, we'll let you in and we'll make room.
What does ECE do in the railroad industry? Well, modern freight trains are all diesel electric operated, so you need a power systems engineer on that.
Norfolk and Southern's a big employer of ours.
SoC design is related to both EE and CompE, so I would maybe hazard a guess a little bit more to CompE, kind of designing a microcontroller, but you actually do need analog circuit designers and mixed signal circuit designers on that team as well, so it is a hybrid.
What's the name of the course where you build a computer? ECE 437? It's computer architecture.
Although it's not in the colloquial sense of putting together a desktop tower PC out of parts, it's in the spending an entire semester programming a whole lot to digitally define a processor core.
All right. I want to go into mechatronics. Would ME or EE be a better fit? Did you answer that one? I don't think so.
Well, I guess, like, in my opinion, which I admit is not fully well informed, at least from the ME perspective, I get the impression that mechatronics is just kind of what ME calls the robotics field. So you could go into robotics through EE perfectly well.
If I decide I'm more interested in software much later, will I be able to do grad school in computer science with a computer engineering degree? Yes.
Yep.
We have many students who do that. Computer science who go into computer engineering, computer engineers who go into computer science. They're very interchangeable for that.
One of my best friends is planning on doing exactly that. So, yeah.
All right. Are we? Whoop, here's another one. If you want to go into a field that is in between EE and Comp E, like embedded systems, which one would you major in?
Compy. For embedded systems, Compy is better. Because like the microcontroller class is required, which makes it easier to do the other things. And yeah, I just feel like since I'm planning on doing that, I would have had a harder time, a little bit harder time doing it with.
Yeah. If you want to do embedded systems, though, electively take the Circuits 2 lab, ECE 2008. It got dropped out of the CompE curriculum a few years back, but it would give you skills you definitely need to be an embedded systems designer if you're, developing whole devices. So definitely consider that course if you think you're interested in embedded systems.
Anything else?
CompE is definitely more appropriate for working in processor development for either CPUs or GPUs, like Intel or NVIDIA. Definitely CompE. Also, if you complete the processor design course 437, that essentially will guarantee you an interview and likely get you a job at one of those companies because it's a very well-regarded course in the industry.
Microsoft loves our students with 437. Yes, we're one of the few. I'm not sure if there are other institutions that teach it at the level that we do.
Not as an undergraduate course.
Professor Kulkarni mentioned that the other day, that and that's the main reason Microsoft goes after our students, is because if they hire you, then they use you to teach the other new hires on what you learned in that class. So they don't have to start over.
The course title is Computer Architecture Design, Computer Sister Design. You could check, there's a web page that the department has with all the undergraduate course listings with names next to numbers. Do you know, Amelia, exactly what the title is?
I want to say it's computer design and prototyping. I feel like
that sounds right.
Yes.
Yeah. I just call it computer architecture. I never know the name.
Yeah.
You're welcome. All right. What are some possible jobs for electrical engineering in energy industry?
Gosh, like almost all of them.
I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that one, so thank you.
I mean, the just depends on the power. Even like fossil fuel powers, they still need to convert like what is almost always steam into electricity. So companies like solar turbines make these giant steam-powered electrical generators. Solar is the devices, the integration, the connections to the grid. The whole system is all electrical from top to bottom. Same for wind. Of course, there'll be mechanical engineers involved, but there kind of always is. The grids themselves, controlling the grids, trying to save energy on and off the grids. Really, the whole field is pretty saturated. I saw a question that I swear is so on the nose it could have been the advisors. Is there someone I can contact to help me make an informed decision on the path I want to take? We welcome you to reach out to the ECE advising office.
They're smiling and nodding, so yes, they are too.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Would EE majors need to go for masters to go into the workforce? I mean,
I guess I don't want to be, I can't give you an exhaustive list, but just certain subfields in different areas. For example, if you wanted to do like a computer architecture design at an advanced level, that certainly is going to require more education. A lot of jobs in RF system integrations and RF system architecture need advanced degrees. Anything related to quantum computing is going to need an advanced degree. But there, even most of those fields would have a place for you to be an entry-level engineer, but you would likely eventually get sent back to school, even by your company, to go learn more if you were in one of those areas.
It is very possible to get your electrical engineering degree, leave, get a job, no problem there. I can tell you that if you aspire to work for a few years and then go back for your master's, it sounds good, and I've seen students do that. I think you may find that once you get settled and you're used to that paycheck and things, sometimes that's tough to give up to be a poor grad student. It's better to keep the momentum going, but
yeah, some perspective on that. It's an impossible choice to just quit your job and go back on a student loan to go be getting your master's degree or a PhD degree. Well, hopefully you're not on a loan for a PhD degree. You should be getting funded in engineering on a PhD degree. But in any case, perhaps your employer is going to pay for it, but most employers prioritize you being at the campus that's physically closest to their job, not the campus that has the best degree program. So if you think you're interested in a higher degree, it's worth thinking about doing it soon after.
and there are other options now. There are professional masters. There's going to be a micromasters. There's a lot of options that you can complete your master's while you're away working. Still getting your master's through Purdue, but online. So a lot of that you'll find out about in the seminars and further down.
Yeah, to Eric's question, space is definitely a growth industry right now. They're sending up more and more smaller satellites all the time. There's hot competition in that, and that's in electrical and computer-heavy industry. So as the industry grows, I'm sure opportunities are growing as well.
Go work for Tesla. They're sending people into space all the time. All right, anything else?